Pastor Ed here, back with daily devotions. My apologies. I was really pretty sick last week and didn't have a chance, obviously, to record any daily devotions last week. But I'm back, and actually, what I'm going to do is I had prepared. Some of you may know I wasn't in church a week ago, Sunday, when it really hit me hard. This virus that then went into a sinus infection. Anyway. I had written a sermon. I was all prepared and ready to go, and didn't get to use it. So, rather than put all that good work for naught, I decided that I would use that as the basis of my, at least for several days, for my daily devotions. So, actually, going back a week ago, Sunday, the reading was from the Old Testament book of the prophet Habakkuk. And there were three sections from chapter 1, chapter 2, and chapter 3. And so I'm going to share that here with you today and tomorrow, and maybe the next day as well. So this is for Tuesday, December the 6th. Reading from, again, the book of Habakkuk. The oracle that the prophet Habakkuk saw, O Lord, how long shall I cry for help, and you will not listen, or cry to you violence, and you will not save? Why do you make me see wrongdoing and look at trouble? Destruction and violence are before me, strife and contention arise. And so the law becomes slack and justice never prevails. The wicked surround the righteous. Therefore judgment comes forth perverted. The husband and wife were once visiting a local department store. And together they just purchased a piece of luggage and a cooler. And afterwards, as the husband was browsing in the shoe department, just kind of killing time while he was waiting for his wife to finish the rest of her shopping, a clerk came up to him and asked if she could be any of assistance. No thanks, said the husband. I'm just waiting for my wife. And at that point, another shopper who was standing behind him, who had overheard this response to the clerk's question, chimed in, Hey, I'm waiting for my wife too, but I never thought to bring lunch in an overnight bag. When you stop to think about it, life is just full of waiting, isn't it? Someone once observed a child must wait until she's old enough to have a bicycle, the young man until he's old enough to drive a car, the college student must wait for the diploma, the husband for his promotion, the young couple to accumulate enough savings in order to buy a new home. Therefore, the art of waiting, it's been said, is not learned all at once. Instead, it's an acquired behavior or skill, isn't it? One that's often learned or developed only after a period of years, and in some cases even decades, and therefore it typically requires a degree of patience as well. Thus, waiting and patience typically go together hand in hand. In April 2011, for example, Prince Charles became the longest-serving heir apparent in British history, having waited at that point some 59 years, 2 months, and 14 days. In doing so, Charles surpassed the mark that had been set by his great-great-grandfather, King Edward VII. Well, that's quite a record when you consider that the monarchy in Great Britain stretches back over 1,100 years. But now also keep in mind that Prince Charles set that record back in 2011, or 11 years ago. So in the end, of course, he therefore had to wait over 70 years to inherit the throne from his mother, Queen Elizabeth, didn't he? Again, talk about patience. As someone once observed, patience is a virtue that carries a lot of weight. That's weight spelled W-A-I-T, not W-E-I-G-H-T. The other week I shared that my dad, in my sermon, I shared that for my dad, if you weren't 15 minutes earlier, then you were late. And I also noted that it got even worse the older that he got. And anyway, needless to say, he was not a very patient man. He had a lot of wonderful attributes and qualities, but patience was just not one of them. In fact, his lack of patience so often irritated my mom that she would say, I swear that man has ants in his pants. But however, when it comes to the life of faith, patience is indeed a virtue. Truth be told, it's a necessity. Why? Because God's will and God's purposes always unfold according to God's timetable, not ours. The great New England preacher of the 19th century, Philip Brooks, perhaps best known today for writing the lyrics to the beloved Christmas carol, O Little Town of Bethlehem, was noted for his poise and quiet manner. But at times, however, even he suffered moments of frustration and irritability. Well, one day a friend saw him feverishly pacing the floor like a caged lion. What's the trouble? He asked Brooks. And Brooks responded, the trouble's that I'm in a hurry, but God isn't. We've probably all felt that way at times, haven't we? And according to our reading this morning, the prophet Habakkuk did as well. Let me stop there for just a moment, even though we're going to go a little bit over time, because it turns out that the prophet's name is one of those trickier names in the Bible to pronounce. For instance, as I've been saying it, I always pronounced it Habakkuk with the accent on the second syllable. Not sure why I do that, can't remember, but that's just the way I've always said it. But then when I checked online to verify the pronunciation, which I like to do before preaching or sharing a devotion like this, I heard it pronounced Habakkuk with the emphasis on the first syllable. And well, at that point, a little confused, still wanting to make sure I had it right, I searched a little further, only to discover others pronouncing it Habakkuk, with the emphasis, of course, on the third and final syllable. Well, really confused now, I consulted the Interpreter's Dictionary of the Bible, the definitive multi-volume resource that I still have up on my bookshelf, even though I don't really consult it very much. And there they did say Habakkuk, or the way that I've always been saying it. So that's what I'm going to stick with the rest of this week as we do this devotion on this reading from Habakkuk. So we're going to stop there, and we'll pick it up again tomorrow. But this whole idea of patience and of waiting is not novel or new to the Bible and to the life of faith. And we're going to explore a little bit more how it comes into play with the prophet Habakkuk. Until then, take care. We'll see you tomorrow. Bye-bye.